Let's talk about how to approach your boss when you need to have that conversation. And it could be great. It could be, I want a promotion. I need more. I want something more challenging. Or it could be not so great that you're struggling. You have too much on your plate. You feel like you're doing 6 jobs. Or I need that work life integration because we're struggling at home to keep up with our family. The thing with approaching your boss is that there is some unknowns, and especially if you have those bosses that just suck, those bosses that aren't approachable, never have their door open, and they're always running around blowing people off. That's a whole other issue. We're talking about what's in your control, how you're going to approach this situation and really get success out of the conversation to get the outcome that you're looking for. So, some unknowns that you need to address in yourself is the mismatched communication styles. Each person has a specific work style that is natural to them. Certainly, you will play in other work styles based on your position and based on what you need to do sometimes. But in your natural work style is where you thrive, where energy just soars and doesn't drain down. So there is a mismatch communication style probably between you and your boss already because everyone has their own work style. And there's 4 that I'm going to go through today so that you can understand how to approach your boss. The second thing that is unknown is possibly unclear expectations that are going to come up, and the frustration that's going to build from that. So say you have too much on your plate. Well, at some point you got more on your plate. You got more on your plate and you got more on your plate. And that came directly from your boss. So how do you tell the person who gave you all this workload that you have too much workload? Do you see unclear expectations of your job position? Or I see this a lot with high performers. They're very skilled, and so then they get a little of this and they get a little of this because of underperforming people. And the expectations weren't clear between you and your boss, or you when you got hired or took that promotion, that frustration builds and you're like, maybe it's just temporary, and maybe I need to have a conversation, and now we're up here. So you're coming in this conversation not down here trying to get clear expectations. You have let it build the frustration, and now it's all the way up here. So that's an unknown, is how is this going to go down when the very person who assigned you the work is the person you're talking to? The third one is the cost and risk of having this conversation. And this is more about approaching those leaders that are kind of a loose cannon and you really don't know what you're going to get. They're unpredictable in their behavior. Maybe they're very busy and stressed themselves. And we all know that people will lash out in a way that they're going to regret. Are you going to get one of those moments? I had a union rep that I had to work with often, and he was kind of like your high tire pressure communicator. And what I mean by that is he would blow at you and he would just say all these absurd things, assumptions. He'd be swearing in my face, things like that. And then once that tire pressure was released, he would come down and he would actually have a very intelligent, constructive conversation with me. But I had to get through this hunk. And that hunk was intense. Like, people would come check on me after the conversation because he's in my face, screaming, yelling, swearing. And I've tried different techniques with that person to try to skip that part. But that part was a little bit critical for him to get out so that we could get here and move on with the situation. So that was a very unique relationship me and him had. But I knew that it was a predictable behavior. So then I could approach, well, what is going to be the expectations? Hey, I know you need to get this off your chest. No swearing at me. No swearing. I know you're not directing it at me, but you're still swearing in my face very close to me. The other thing is we're not doing that in the office because people are trying to work. There's literally accounting right next to me that need quiet and you're screaming at me. So let's go to the plant floor outside. All right, let it loose then. So what are the unknowns that you need to address? And this will kind of just calm your nervous system down from approaching your boss. We like to not address these unknowns, and then it builds and it builds. And then when we have the time to have the conversation, we just don't have it because it's scary. And you have to realize in most cases, they're not going to hurt you. That most of these conversations are low risk, and there's higher risk in not having the conversation. So let's go through a little bit of a DISC work style cheat code that you can use to approach your boss. Now, if you have DISC in your organization, this is already known what style your boss is, and these are the organizations that are moving and adapting and building agile teams because they know each other's work styles and they're honoring those. If you don't have DISC in your organization, this is probably a video or the other DISC videos to send to a leader in your organization or HR to see if this is a good fit to help them move out of this exhaustion, just guessing game all the time, and into excellence, because we have known behaviors and we can honor people where their energy is at. So let's talk about D's. D bosses, they don't want any fluff, right? You want to talk and talk and talk and explain and make excuses, or even just explain the situation. They don't want all that. They want you to present a solution. So if you come and you say, hey, sales didn't put information in the CRM, and that's why I can't do my job, and I always have to wait for sales. All right, you're venting, you're offloading on them. That's not a great approach, right? They don't want the problem. They want you to start exploring solutions. So go ahead in there, explain the root cause problem without all the like fluff and venting. Explain the problem, and then also present some solutions. And they might not be the solutions the leader goes with, but they don't want the vent session. They want some solutions, they want some brainstorming ideas, and it might even get them to open up their brain. And that comes from such a solution orientated conversation versus like the blame game and pointing the fingers at different departments. So how can you go in with a few solutions, or at least starting with a few ideas, so it's less of a vent session and more forward moving? The other thing that you want to consider when you have a D boss, which is dominance, or I like to call them reds, is to speak in results. All right, they don't want to know that step 1 and step 2 and step 3 and 4 and then 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. They don't want to know the whole process, right? These are results orientated type of people. They want results. So if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what's the result, right? These are our outcome driven people. These are the people that want to win by results. So what is the result? That's not so much a bias to you, but for the team. So keep that in mind, because they want to win as a team. They want to win for the company. As you look outward, what could be that result? So that's a way to approach a D. Very fast pace. Now let's go over to our I's. Our I's are a little bit more of your connection relationship builders. So they want engaging. They want to have time to speak to you. So if you want to speak to, and I'm a high I, if you want to come see me as your boss and you want to just do a flyby, but it's a pretty deep conversation, or you want to look into flexible work. Hey, Kelly, I saw your video on 4-day work week, or hey, I've been thinking about the unlimited PTO, how we could get there. Let's make time to speak. Eyes want to connect. They want to build that relationship. They really want to understand your behavior. They're very curious about it. So don't see that as a threat. They're just curious. They really enjoy like the people side of it, the behavior side of it. They're your people watchers. So make sure that you have time to speak. So say I'm your leader and you want to look at flexible work options like unlimited PTO or 4-day work week. What that looks like in our department, because obviously it's a department and company decision. You can say, hey, Kelly, I think we're going to need about an hour of this because there's a lot to talk about, but I want to talk to you about possibly moving to a 4-day work week, and we could probably get there by summer if we look at a few things within our department. Awesome. As a high I, because I want people to be happy, I want them to be thriving and engaged, I'm probably already on board with it, but we all know that there's kinks to work out in our operation. So let's schedule some time, because if you want to do a flyby like that, it's one, not going to hook my attention, because I'm also fast paced. I'm also a very shiny object as a high I. So as this high I yellow type of work style, I need that connection. I need that discussion to really dig into what is the root cause problems of it. How would it aid you? How would it engage the department? How could we get everyone on board? We really need to dig into this, and then I need to talk to other people and come back to you. The key factor that I just said about getting everyone on board, they're very inclusive work style. So if you say, I need this and I need this for my family, okay, I understand that, but also you should shine light on how the benefits the team. All right, how different people have come to you in the team maybe, and this is how they could benefit, or different people in the team, we've already discussed how this could work and where the kinks are and the gaps, so we could even start trialing it. Do you get it? Like low risk, let's just try it out. they have that time to discuss it. They know the benefits of the whole team, and the approach is a little bit softer than a flyby or an email. So if you have an I boss, hi I, that's a way to approach them. Now let's talk about S's. So S's are supporters, it's our greens, and they want consistency. They don't really like a lot of change or fast change, right? They can change, but they have a slower change curve forward. They don't like when everything is changing at once either. So, say the same approach about unlimited PTO 4-day work week comes up, and you approach an S. Everything is changing. Benefits are changing, people time off, operations changing, our process going to change, our systems have to change, and they just go on a spiral, right? And they're slightly becoming more barriered in their conflict avoidance then, because too much is changing. So what you want to do with an S is approach them with bite-sized change, bite-sized requests, and then shine light also on what is staying the same, bringing some stability to the conversation. So you don't want to use rushing in this, because they need time to reflect. They need time to really think through how this is going to change the operation, the process flow, how the customers are going to react to this, and how they're affected. So they're really great on the whole 360 view of things, but we need to give them time to reflect on this, because they're going to be able to address some of those gaps that we might not have seen, as D's and I's like to kind of move fast. So don't rush them. They don't enjoy conflict, so pushing blame during this conversation is not going to help the discussion. So if you want to go to a 4-day work week, unlimited PTO, but we can't because sales, because of technical, because of this, because of that, and it's all outward looking at other departments, you're putting them in conflict avoidance. They're going to start putting up a barrier to this conversation, not related to PTO or 4-day work weeks. It's because you're creating conflict between departments. And so when you want to approach this conversation, you're not only creating a stability and consistency vibe, but you're also looking at how we can make the operation better so there's less conflict. So you're kind of like not pushing the conflict down, but you're kind of diffusing the conflict through team collaboration efforts. So this is a key factor, and I think one of the biggest benefits I saw in DISC during change is identifying the S's, because they are the last ones to change. They are the biggest resistors of change. So when you know your S's, you can start the conversation early. You can have more private conversations with S's to really understand what is their concerns. And usually it's that too much is changing. So what can we keep in their world that isn't changing? So when you identify these S's, it kind of makes the change curve go faster. It makes the discussions and communication about change a little bit easier. And then you can start to move forward as a team. Now, let's talk about C's. So C's are our compliance, they're our blues, and they want logic over emotions. They want information and facts. So if you want to go in and bend, they're just kind of sitting there like, when does this stop? If you want to blame other departments and point fingers, they're like, okay, what is going on? This is noise. So they want those facts, information, and logic over emotion and venting. They also want some structure. So if you say, I want a 4-day work week, all right, that seems like, well, big change for them. Not a lot of information. They probably have their own biases about it, depending on who they've talked to and how much they've dug into it. So here's a different approach. You go in and you say, hey, I've been looking at the 4-day work week, and I've been watching Kelly Bubolz videos. I think we can get there because we already have really good systems. We just don't use it as much as we could. We could even set up the automations in the systems. We just don't use them right now. Communicate across departments. We could work on that. And if everyone knows the outcome is a 4-day work week, I think we can get everyone to collaborate a little bit better as we work through the systems and process issues and closing those gaps. So there's a few things I could see us doing over the next couple months and maybe hit this 4-day work week by summer. What's your thoughts? What's some of your concerns that you have if we would hit some of these marks in the system and process, and then the collaboration efforts between departments, right? Do you see how I presented some information, some facts, some details, And then I went through like a couple of the process steps of what this could look like. Again, micro bite-sized steps, so it's not such a big change for them. And C's really get behind facts and information. So if you can paint the 4-day work week, for example, with facts and information, which there's plenty of studies in my 4-day work week video, go check that out. I'll link it at the end of this video because I keep talking about it. You can take them on board because they see the clear plan. They see some clarity to that plan versus this pie in the sky. And they're like, well, how do we get there? What's the information around it? What's the facts? Why would we even want to do that? That seems like you just want to work less, right? It gets rid of those assumptions. It gets rid of the biases when you provide facts and information. So by approaching your boss by their work style, you will have a more natural, cohesive conversation. You will have a forward-moving conversation through change and move from this conflict avoidance to healthy conflict. And by addressing the unknowns even going into this type of approach, you will de-stress naturally and gain energy by moving forward and having that collaboration and connection with your boss versus draining your energy. Seen as the number one reason why people leave as their boss, we play a part in take control of what we can control and close that gap. So, based off the information in this video, what is your boss's work style?